right here, it ain't got no hands on it for a reason. To me, it means time is standing still. My time is standing still. Everybody else's time is moving forward. Here it is, what, almost 18 years later? Whatever time it is, when the police finally let me out, that's what time I'm put up there.
Nearly 60% of my life I'm incarcerated now, and I've learned along the way that no matter where you're at, you gotta make the most of it, enjoy it. No matter how bad you may perceive it to be or how good you may perceive it to be, you've got to make the most of it, because this is where you're at right now. I just try to do my best every day, regardless of the situation. We take the hands we're dealt, and we make the most of it. That's the way we make it through life.
You never, ever get sunlight. I haven't been exposed to sunlight in almost 7 years now. You're in a cell. Pretty much, for all intents and purposes, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If I focused on the things I can't change, the things that have hurt me, what people have done to me, then they would have already broken me. They would have killed me inside and out. I get up in the morning, and I don't feel sorry for myself. I don't hate my life. You have a lot of people in here that all they can think about is what they don't have and how much they want out and how much they want something else. But for some reason, this situation has helped me to see more of what I do have and to be thankful for that. I have, in a lot of ways, I have a truly incredible life.
In less than 17 hours, the fates of Damian Eccles, Jason Baldwin, and Jesse Miskelly could be decided. A special hearing in Jonesboro will bring together families of the victims and the 3 convicted murderers, known as the West Memphis Three, for what could be an explosive resolution in this infamous case.
Now, Judge David Burnett, he was the judge who rejected that the new DNA testing should get them a new trial. He was elected to the state Senate last year, so a new judge, Judge David Laser, was appointed. That's a major change in the case. Also, the Supreme Court disagreed with former Judge Burnett and said the DNA testing did warrant at least a hearing to consider the possibility of a new trial. Now, that hearing was set for December, but yesterday, Judge Laser and the attorneys involved surprised everybody by calling this hearing today.
It could all come to an end, or just mark the beginning for even more of the same.
So what's going to happen? Are they just literally, they've been convicted of killing these kids. Are they just going to walk out of jail?
Well, what we have heard, what could happen today is that they could enter something that's very unusual called Alford pleas. And the 3 men will say, look, we are innocent, but in order to get out of jail, we will plead guilty.
I am David Lacer, Circuit Judge, Division 9, the 2nd Judicial District of the state of Arkansas. Subject to the court's approval, certain dispositive agreements have been reached by and between the state and the defendants in this case. The offered plea, it's a guilty plea with a profession of innocence. If you would, please, Mr. Eccles, Mr. Baldwin, Mr. Miskelly, if you would stand, please. Mr. Eccles, how do you wish to plead in this case?
Your Honor, I am innocent of these charges, but I'm entering an Alford guilty plea today based on the advice of my counsel and my understanding that it's in my best interest to do so with the entire record.
Mr. Baldwin, how do you choose to plead in this case?
First of all, I'm innocent of murder in this regard, Michael Morris, Stephen Range. However, serving 18 years in the penitentiary for such, I agree that it's in the state's best interest as well as my own, that based upon North Carolina versus Alford, that I plead guilty of first-degree murder.
The same as relates to you, Mr. Miskelly. How do you wish to plead?
I am pleading guilty on North Carolina versus Alford, the Arkansas rule. Although I am innocent, This is plea, and this plea is in my best interest.
All right, thank you. The court finds each of the defendants guilty of first-degree murder and the modified charges.
Okay, so just for clarity then, David, it's not that these convictions were overturned. They are still guilty, but they were freed. Now, this, at the root of this change, is DNA evidence or lack thereof. Is that correct?
That was one of the last things that came to the court's attention this year. Now, if they did not go through with this deal today, those three would have been probably granted a new trial later this year. But that trial could have taken years to complete. So the judge, again, reiterating this was in the best interest, he said, for everyone.
This is not right. And the people of Arkansas need to stand up and raise hell, because 3 innocent men are going to have to claim today that they're guilty for a crime they didn't know. And that's bullshit. They're innocent. They did not kill my son. And this is wrong, what the state of Arkansas is doing to cover their ass.
Amen.
And I'm sick of it.
Amen.
Because the real killer is walking around free.
Some are happy, some are angry, and some are perplexed. And that's the case at the end of every trial. And this one is no different. Guilt or innocence was never on the table. Today's proceedings allows the defendants to have the freedom to say that they're not guilty. But in fact, they just pled guilty. The legal tangle that has become known as the West Memphis 3 case is now finished.
Damien was an Alfred plea. You had to say, the court's purpose, that you're guilty of a crime that you profess to the judge that you did not commit.
Right.
Is this justice? Is this what you've been looking for?
It's not perfect. It's not perfect by any means, but at least it brings closure to some areas and some aspects. You know, we can still bring up new evidence. We can still continue the investigations we've been doing. We can still try to clear our names. The only difference is now we can do it from the outside instead of having to sit in prison and do it. You know, this has been going on for over 18 years, and it's been an absolute living hell.
Were you concerned about the evidence that the defense was going to present at the upcoming evidentiary hearing, including juror misconduct, allegations of juror misconduct?
When the Supreme Court handed down this decision on November the 4th of last year, reopening issues of juror misconduct and everything and all these other matters on the basis of new DNA, then that caused some troubles. And this judge was most likely going to grant a new trial. And if this judge granted a new trial, the defendants most likely, I mean, we would do the best we could to put on the evidence, but most likely these defendants, the state believes, could very easily have been acquitted. Yes, ma'am.
Will the state continue to investigate this case if additional information is brought forward, or is the case closed?
I have no reason to believe that there was anyone else involved in the homicide of these 3 children but the 3 defendants who pled guilty today.
Let me just point out one aspect of what happened today. These men not only walked out, they created today, by this plea, to me, proof positive of their innocence and the state's recognition of it. Because does anyone believe that if the state had even the slightest continuing conviction that they were guilty, that they would let these men free today? It would have never happened. But to me, the state's acceptance of an Alford plea, in which they maintain their innocence, and releasing them is evidence of the state's recognition of their innocence.
This was not justice, you know. In the beginning, we told them nothing but the truth, that we were innocent, and they sent us to prison for the rest of our lives for it. And then we had to come here, and the only thing that the state would do for us was to say, hey, we'll let you go only if you admit guilt. And that's not justice, no matter how you look at it. They're not out there trying to find who really murdered those boys. And I did not want to take the deal from the get-go. However, they're trying to kill Damien, and sometimes you just got to bite the gun to save somebody.
I want to publicly thank Jason, too, just to let him know that I do acknowledge what he did, that he did want to keep fighting. He didn't want to take this deal in the beginning. And I recognize and acknowledge that he did do it almost entirely for me. Thank you.
There's something very wrong with our judicial system today. People have prejudices. People have fears. People have hates. These things cloud our ability to reason. We also have compassion, love, mercy. But what makes it so difficult in the judicial system is that the people who are there to protect and serve, they get so desensitized and they lose the ability to reason. There's got to be a way to reawaken the compassion in the people who run our justice system. On the state seal of Arkansas, on a banner, it says justice on one hand and mercy on the other. Justice is lost. It's up to us as a people to change it. It starts with all of us. We've got to make the decision to take each person on their merit and not just lump everybody into something that we hate, distrust, don't know about. These are the very principles our country is built upon, but it's so hard to practice. Hang on to that. Grab it. It's ours. We need it. It's what keeps us going, keeps us alive. It's what prevents things like what's going on with me, Damon, and Jesse from happening.
Just keep them